You listening to something in your ear? Okay, we're starting a new chapter today. Hand me one of these books. Such a nice day. Everybody wants to stay in bed. Chapter 11. We now move to the other side. Until now, we've been speaking at length about the workings of the Nefesh Elokis, about tzaddikim, different levels of tzaddikim, tzaddik v'toivlei, Rosh, tzaddik she'ene gamor, tzaddik v'raloi. Now we move to the other side. Rasha v'toivlei. What is the Rasha v'toivlei? A person who's wicked, but he's good. Nice person. So what makes him a Rasha? A Rasha is not necessarily, we use the term Rasha as a bad person, a wicked, horrible, evil, dangerous person, a villain. Not so. A Rasha is someone who transgresses. If a person transgresses a commandment of the Torah, you go to the bank, you pull out a gun, and you rob the teller. Give me your money, and you rob them, you walk out. Are you a tzaddik or a Rasha? You're a Rasha, right? Let's say you don't rob the bank. Let's say that you hear a nice juicy piece of gossip and you repeat it to a friend. Are you a tzaddik? You're a Rasha? You did a transgression? So doing a transgression makes you a Rasha. Let's say you have a cup of coffee for breakfast and you forget to say a bracha achrena. Are you a tzaddik? That tzaddik doesn't forget to say a bracha achrena, right? So he's also a Rasha. Is he a villain? He's not a villain, but he didn't do a commandment. Let's say a person gives tzedakah. He walks by, sees the poor person on the street, doesn't have a job, and he gives him a quarter. Is he a tzaddik?
No.
Why?
Not necessarily.
Is he a Rasha? Also not necessarily. Depends. What does it depend on? Depends on how much money he earns. If he gives 9% of his income, let's say he's what the latest term that's being passed around, an oligarch. He has a yacht worth $600 million. Or how many $1 million is it worth? Worth millions of dollars. And he sees the poor person on the street and he gives him $100 bill. Does that make him a tzaddik? Does it make him generous? Not necessarily. What's the minimum to do the mitzvah of tzedakah? 10%. Let's say a person gives 9.5%. Is he a tzaddik? Is he generous? It's relative. Could be generous, but not doing it. But he's not doing a mitzvah. The poor person might think he's very generous, very happy to get a nice donation from an oligarch, from a billionaire. Is the billionaire a righteous person? Yeah, maybe yes. Maybe. If he gives 10%, 10.1%, he's righteous. That's a mitzvah. If he gives 10%, he's what I would call a borderline Jew. It's right on the border. Interesting case in the Gemara. If you see a bird wandering in the wilderness near a civilized place. Is this bird free for anybody to take, or does it belong to somebody? Let's put it in different terms. You go to the store and you see a $5 bill on the floor. If you go on the sidewalk outside the store, you see a $5 bill. Can you take it? I can't hear you, but whatever you're saying, I heard the sign. Sign wouldn't do much good because you have to identify the thing.
Well, no, you
Does it have any simonim on it? Basically, the rule is, what's it closest to? If it's in the store, if it's closer to the cashier than to the general part of the store, you can keep it. If it's closer to the cashier, it belongs to the cashier. If you find a significant amount of money, then you put up a sign. Let's say you find $300 on the street, in the gutter. You might put up a sign, but what are you going to say in the sign? Please present. Did you lose money? Call so-and-so. Give me detail. Can you supply details? What was the money you lost? I don't know what was the money I lost. I don't know where I lost it. No idea. If you find money in the street, it's very hard to claim it because there's no signs on it. There's no identifying marks. But we don't want to be borderline Jews. Oh, so it tells a story about a bird. You find a dove or a pigeon wandering around. Can you claim that? Can you say it's a wild bird and you want it? You're gonna have it for supper, or does it belong to a farmer, someone who has a dove coat? Is that how you pronounce it? Dove coat, place where we keep doves. So the Talmud paskins. The Talmud decides, says a regular pigeon or a dove will wander 50 rees. I'm not sure how much a rees is. Maybe it's a yard. Maybe it's 10 yards. I'm not sure. It says 50 rees will wander away from its dovecot after looking for food. Why do doves wander around? They look for something to eat. So this dove will wander up to 50 rees to find some food. And after 50 rees, it's going to give up. It's going to go start walking back. So if you find it within 50 rees, you can't take it. If it's more than 50 rees from the nearest farmer's pigeon coop, that if it's more, then you could take it. Comes along a rabbi, one of the sages named Rabbi Yirmiyah. He says, what if I find a pigeon that's got 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the 50 rees?
You cut the chicken in half. Slice it down the middle. Make sure you check it properly so you
Wasn't there 2 ladies once who
the
story with the baby?
And they knew it was the right mother because she said, no, don't cut the baby. The other one was like, yeah, can I have the top half?
Right, I'll be happy with half of it.
Yeah.
And everybody marveled at the wisdom of King Solomon.
Yeah.
12-year-old. So that's what it means, a borderline Jew. You could be so close to the border that an inch and you're outside. You're outside. So we don't want to be borderline Jews. We don't want to give 10% exactly to tzedakah. Maybe we didn't give exactly 10%. Maybe we didn't calculate properly, and we didn't do the mitzvah. If you don't do the mitzvah, are you a righteous person or a wicked person? If you're 9.75% of your income goes to tzedakah, did you do a mitzvah or not? Are you righteous or are you wicked?
For the complete mitzvah, no.
If you don't do a mitzvah, you're called, according to Tanya, what we're learning now, if you don't do the mitzvah, you are a Rasha.
Wow.
You can keep Shabbos and eat kosher, but you're a Russia. If a person has chicken is only from a forbidden meat. Chicken is only considered meat by the rabbis. The Torah does not consider chicken meat. It's fowl. It's a bird. The rabbi said, we're going to consider it the same as meat. So let's say you have meat for lunch, a beef burger. We're not going to use the common word because ham is completely forbidden. So you have beef, kosher beef, Rubashkins, Aaron, whatever it's called. Marvit chicken from Montreal. And 3 hours later, you're thirsty, you're working very hard, you feel tired, a little drowsy, you go make yourself a cup of coffee and put some milk in it. Are you a wicked person? That's called milk and meat. You have to wait 6 hours. Some people say 3 hours is enough. We say, our rabbis say 6 hours. Maimonides says 6 hours. Maybe there's food still stuck in your teeth. Maybe it didn't go past through your digestive system yet. Does that make you a villain? Does it make you a wicked person? It doesn't make you a wicked person, but yes, it makes you a Rasha. You're a Rasha, you're a wicked person because you didn't do them. So the definition of a Rasha is anybody who transgresses a commandment of Hashem or the rabbis. And that's what we said in the beginning of chapter 8. Let's look back here, chapter 8. What we learned this. I'm sorry, chapter 7. Beginning, opening lines of chapter 7. The living soul, page 113. Take a look, page 113. The nefesh hachayunis habahamas, the animal soul in a Jewish person, which comes from klippas noiga, which is enclosed in the blood of a person. In other words, your animal soul is in your blood. And the animals, the soul, the living force, and kosher animals like cows and birds like chickens and fish that have fins and scales and vegetables that are not from trees in the first 3 years of their growth or not from grapes growing together with wheat in the same area. And similarly, all the things that you do and say and think in your day-to-day life that are not explicitly mitzvahs, but they're not, they're just ordinary things that you do. And they're not forbidden. There's nothing forbidden about them from the Torah or from the rabbis, right? That's all from klippas noiga. Okay? So that a person can be very involved with the world and still not be holy, because he's just involved in things from his day-to-day life, from klippas noiga, and it's klippa. Klippa is not holiness. Klippa is neutral. It's not bad, but it's not good. It's how you use it that counts. So if we're involved with something from klippas noiga in the wrong way, then that's called a transgression, because the Torah tells us how to use things in the right way and to make them holy. And if we don't, then we don't make them holy. We schlep the life that's in them into the realms of impurity. The realms of impurity are called klippa. So this becomes a whole new definition of what means a wicked person. A Rasha is not a villain. He's not a nasty person. Could be he's negligent. Could be he's careless. Could be he's stingy. Nice guy, friendly, pleasant to be with, but a little on the stingy side. If he doesn't do the mitzvahs properly, then he comes into the, can't say he's righteous. Righteous person does do mitzvahs properly. A righteous person, an average person doesn't miss the chance to do a mitzvah either. What's the difference between him and a tzaddik? Is that for him it's still a struggle, but he wins the struggle. The Rasha does not necessarily win the struggle all the time. The wicked, if a person transgresses, let's say you have this cup of coffee 2 hours after you had a chicken sandwich with mustard and ketchup. And you forgot, and you had the cup of coffee. And you were so upset about it. They said, from now on, I'm not going to eat anything dairy on the same day that I have chicken, that I have meat, or something like meat, like chicken. I'm going to make myself a fence around this mitzvah that I'm never going to transgress this mitzvah again. And so you go on, and you're keeping now a new higher standard of kosher food. And a year or 2 years later, you're already so used to it, you forgot that you made this fence around your behavior to keep away from eating non-kosher food. And you're working very intensely, and the whole scenario plays itself out again, and you have the sandwich, and comes the cup of coffee 2.5 hours later, and you have a little milk. Oh, you forgot. Are you righteous? Or are you wicked? You just did a transgression. If a person does a transgression, he's called a wicked person. He can't say he's righteous. Can't say he's a Beinoni. The Beinoni would never do it. If he does, he's not a Beinoni anymore. He's a Rasha. But he's not a bad person. So he's called a Rasha v'toiv loy. Basically a good person. But sometimes he slips up. It could be once in 10 years. Does a tzaddik slip up once in 10 years? No. Does a Beinoni slip up once in 10 years? No. It's not a Beinoni. So you can see that this person who's a Rasha v'toiv loy, he could be basically a good person. He does keeps Shabbos and mitzvahs and Yom Tov and kashrus and family purity, and he has holy books, and he gives tzedakah, and he does as many mitzvahs as he can, and he helps other people to do mitzvahs. Sometimes he makes a mistake. Sometimes he forgets. Sometimes a mistake is a little mistake. The kind of thing that says like a heel of a mitzvah. Why are some mitzvahs called heels? Because people step all over them. They think they're so insignificant. Rashi says these are Parshas Ekev. Ekev means a heel. Ekev Tishmun. Ekev also means because. Because you'll keep these little mitzvahs, says the Torah, I'm going to give you, Hashem says, I promise you, I'm going to give you the biggest mitzvahs, the biggest rewards, the biggest blessings. Because you keep these little mitzvahs that everybody steps all over them. Because the word Ekev means a heel. You dash them underfoot. That's how the expression goes. So if a person slips up in one of these little mitzvahs, he's a Rasha, but basically he could be a very righteous person. But you can't say that he's righteous, because righteous people don't make mistakes. And Beinonim don't make mistakes, but they struggle. It's a struggle not to make a mistake. And Wicked people, they also struggle. They struggle a lot because after he feels very bad, he does tshuva and he doesn't want to make the mistake again. But time goes by and there's pressure and maybe there's discord in the family and maybe your boss yelled at you or maybe you didn't get the job that you wanted to get. You get upset, you get depressed. When a person is depressed, he tends to make mistakes. He begins to have a negative attitude about life and about himself. He makes mistakes. When you make a mistake, you're not a Beinani, you're not a tzaddik, you're not a tzaddik who has good, you're not a tzaddik who has bad, you're not one of the many levels, hundreds of thousands of levels that we said are in the category of Beinani. You fall into the category of a wicked person. But it was only once in 10 years. So here's the variable. One variable is how often does it happen? Does it happen once in 10 years or once in 1 year or once in 1 month or once a week or once a day or twice a day? I only forgot to say a bracha achrona 3 times today. I'll work harder tomorrow. Maybe I'll only forget twice. That's an improvement. I'm getting better. Am I a tzaddik or a rasha? If a person forgets to say a bracha achrona 3 times in 1 day, and someone else forgets to say a bracha achrona 10 times in 1 day, who is more righteous?
Both are Russia.
Well, who's more? Who's more? Who's more wicked than the other? It all depends how many times did they forget yesterday.
If they got better.
If the guy who forgot 10 times today, yesterday didn't say brachas at all, didn't even know you're supposed to say a bracha achrona. And the guy who forgot only once or twice today, but he knows better. So for him, he's going down. And the other guy, he's going up. All depends which direction you're going. So that's one variable. Then there's the severity. How serious is the transgression that the person forgets to do? Is it just a slip of, the tongue? Is it a momentary forgetfulness? Or is it something that just the animal soul, greed, took over? The person was greedy. And his greed overruled his sense, his ethical and moral sense of honesty. And the HR rationalizes it for him. He tells him it's normal, everybody does it. One time, Rabbi Krinsky, so the story goes, I didn't hear this from Rabbi Krinsky, but it's a well-known story. Rabbi Krinsky went to the pharmacy, to the drugstore, we call it here, to the drugstore to get some medicine for the Rebbe. The Rebbe needed some kind of medicine, I don't know what. Maybe a lotion for dry skin on his foot. I don't know what he needed for. And he came back and he gave it to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, do you have a receipt? He said, no. He said, yes. He says, can I see the receipt? The Rebbe said, why is there no tax? He said, he didn't charge me tax because I'm a rabbi. The Rebbe said, please go pay him the tax. Would a regular person be concerned if the storekeeper doesn't charge the tax? Is that considered al pi halacha stealing from the government? The Rebbe was very careful about it. There was an election here in America a few years back, before the Obama era. and the Democrats had a woman running for vice president. This is the first time a woman ran for vice president. She did not make it. She was from a wealthy Italian family, I think from Staten Island, that had done very well in real estate, and she got involved in politics. She was running for vice president, and they looked into her financial affairs, and they found out that she had help in the house. A woman came to work in the house, and the law is that if you employ somebody, your employer, you have to take withholding tax for them. You have to pay the government, they have to pay tax, and you also have to pay taxes, the employer. But if you just pay the person under the table, just give them cash, they don't have to pay the tax because nobody knows about it. And you don't have to pay the tax because you don't declare it. And they looked into her finances and they found out that she had help in the house and she wasn't taking the withholding tax from them. Guess what? She got knocked off the ballot. She could never be the first lady vice president of America. Because that was a transgression, breaking American law. Okay, so there's all kinds of degrees. How serious is a transgression? Unfortunately, very unfortunately, recently, some rabbis were caught playing a trick on the government. And we had a nice big store on Kingston Avenue. It was a beautiful store. All of a sudden it closed overnight. What happened to the store? What happened to the store was they were doing a trick. The people were using their credit card to buy things. And then they were giving them, I don't know exactly how it worked. They were giving them a return, like they returned the credit card. And then they paid them cash. They were stealing. They weren't paying the tax, the sales tax to the government that they had to. And the government, it became a very big operation. They were making a lot of money in not unpaid sales tax. Or recently, they discovered a new trick that a tax-exempt organization can accept a donation and the person gets a receipt for it, which he claims on his income tax as a deductible. He doesn't have to pay income tax on that money because it was a donation. And then the recipient of the donation gives that money back to the donor as cash and keeps a small amount for himself so that the recipient ends up with money and the government doesn't get the money because it didn't pay tax on the donation. And they caught them. It was in the news and they had to stand trial and they had to pay a fine and or go to jail now they don't have to go to jail for 25 years, a year, 2 years. It's a minor misdemeanor. So in the area of transgressions, there are serious transgressions, more serious, like cheating the government or cheating anybody in business. I'm told, I don't remember from the last time I was there, but when the neshama goes up on high after 120 years, the first question they ask is, were you honest in business? Did you cheat people in business? I worked with an artist one time. For many years, I worked with this artist. A very nice, very interesting artist, a cartoony artist. And he used to do the art, and I used to pay him what he asked. And he would always give me a receipt. He always give me a bill, and he would give me a receipt when he was paid. And it was not big money, it was small money, small amounts of money. But he was meticulously honest about the payments and receipts. And I'll tell you something, most people in the world are not. People are greedy. If they can save a few dollars, you go to the store. Do you want to pay by credit card or you want to pay by check? Pay by check, you don't have to pay the tax. That's what they say. That's cheating. That's stealing from the government. Well, some people have a culture, like in Russia, I was told, people who came out of Russia, out of communist Russia, by them it was a way of life to steal from the government. Because they felt the government was stealing from them anyway, and the only way they could survive was to steal back. It became a way of life. So there are all kinds of levels and degrees of how serious is the transgression, how often does it occur, and how many of the four elements of the animal soul that we spoke about does it involve? Does it involve fire? We spoke about money. What about losing your temper? What about saying something not nice to somebody else? Being critical? How about being critical without saying something? Thinking something critical of somebody else? Lashon hara in your mind. It says when you think Lashon hara about somebody else, it affects them. If you say it, it kills them. We know many stories of people who were killed by idle gossip, literally killed. They lost their job. Their children couldn't get shidduchim because of gossip. So that's fire, and that's air. And what about gluttony? Gluttony is eating, transgressions of eating, not just eating milk and meat like the example we gave, but eating selfishly, like it says in chapter 7 at the beginning. Eating without, not eating for the sake of serving God, eating because you like to eat. And what about laziness and feeling sorry for yourself? Depression, these are the elements of earth and the animal soul. So there's all these various ways and factors involved in the area that we want to talk about now called Russia. And they go from the top, a person who's really a very righteous person, but has certain small, almost inconsequential flaws or behavior, to people who are more constantly making mistakes, behaving in coarse, thoughtless ways, to people who very deliberately and quite happily take advantage of others and deceive them and behave in really not nice ways. And these are the millions of levels, according to almost the number of people in the world, that are, most people fit into most of these levels. And fit into one of these levels or several of them. Maybe there's a problem with one or two or three or all four of these elements of fire, water, air, earth, the negative elements in the animal soul. So in any one of these areas that the animal speech or thoughts, he's called a rasha, a wicked person. So we can have many, many levels from the wicked person who basically at all, and very infrequently so, and not seriously so, to more serious. Schleps the other after it. So the person could think, yeah, what's the difference? It doesn't really bother me. I'm still a good Jew. And you are a good Jew, because there's so many ways to be a good Jew. So a person could, but when a person does a transgression on any of these levels, however insignificant, it has an overall effect on your character and your being. And being good is not the same after you do a transgression as being good without doing the transgression. There's a qualitative difference. Sarah Abigail asked the other day, what's the difference between quantity and quality? The answer is the quality of the thing is the whole feeling of it, the extent of your commitment and your involvement and your belief in what you're doing. Like the difference between saying a bracha meaningfully from your heart or just remembering to say the words. What happens if you say the wrong words? You go to eat something, and instead of saying Bori Pri H, you say Bori Pri Adama. You say the wrong blessing. There's so many factors involved. So that's what the topic we're coming to discuss now. We'll continue with this tomorrow. Is the Rasha v'toivloi v'Rasha v'raloi. Okay. Chana is here. Chava no. Chaya no. Sarah. Sarah. Tova, you had a question, Tova. What was your question?
Yes. My question is there like an allotted amount of binding like per generation? Like there's one like
What?
Is there an allotted amount of binding per generation? Like there's one like Moshe of every generation, but then aren't there 36 like tzaddikim in every generation? And like
There are more than 36. We just learned about the tzaddikim. Tzaddik v'raloi. He's a tzaddik, but he's not a complete tzaddik. So the Talmud says there's 18,000.
In the whole world, like since the beginning of time.
And I suggested that if the Talmud says there's 18,000, maybe there's 18,000 times 18,000, but they're still not tzaddik v'toivlei.
Does it say anything about how many have been in there?
It says about the 36 that they're hidden, not just 36 tzaddikim. It says Amech kulam tzaddikim. The Jewish people are all tzaddikim, not just 36, not just 18,000. The whole Jewish people are all tzaddikim, because sooner or later they all do tshuva, because that they have that nefesh elokis in them, which is God, and it doesn't leave them alone. And if you don't do all the mitzvahs this time, you're going to come back and finish them off next time. Samantha, Sharonelle, anybody whose name I didn't call? Liba. Okay. Enjoy the new weather. Enjoy the weather. Don't say I didn't tell you. I told you, winter is over.
It was snowing yesterday.
So
Winter wasn't over yesterday.
Where's the snow?